This is CBC Vancouver News.
I feel like I've been priced out, like I'm stuck in my apartment.
I'm affording my rent because I've been in my place for 11 years.
Gloomy forecast. Canada's federal housing agency says home prices will climb in the coming years, while new supply is set to fall. Plus,
this is a really difficult, complicated operation, and it takes a lot of things to go right.
But time is ticking to try to rescue the stranded orca calf near Vancouver Island. And
without tea, you cannot make your day.
A welcome meal after a day of fasting. We'll take you inside the kitchen of a local mosque as Ramadan winds down for Muslims. Canada's federal agency tasked with improving housing has a gloomy outlook for the Lower Mainland's already troubled sector. The Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation says house prices will rise over the next 2 years. At the same time, housing starts are set to drop because of high interest rates on new construction. Chad Pawson reports.
Here in one of Vancouver's most desirable neighborhoods, a renovated, move-in ready family home. Now, the price tag slightly less than $4 million, but given a slow market over the past 2 years, it may be a better deal, this house, than it otherwise could be.
At this moment, maybe things seem a little bit more open, like things aren't getting snapped up quite as quickly as they were when the interest rates were lower. It's still really challenging. There's not a lot of inventory in the desirable neighborhoods.
Now, if this house doesn't sell quickly, the price could actually increase. That's according to a new Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation report today. It's saying house prices in Vancouver are expected to rise, get back to the peak where they were at 2 years ago. That's because buyers are expecting mortgage rates to drop, so demand is increasing.
A little bit of positive momentum in that people are expecting rates to come down later this year, so buyers are saying, okay, now's our time to get in. Let's go on a variable rate mortgage. We'll take advantage of the lower rates as they unfold.
Here in Vancouver's West End, rentals are numerous, but the news isn't much better according to the CMHC. Rents are set to increase, vacancy rates set to decrease, also all tied to a lack of supply and even an increase in population to the region.
Now I feel like I've been priced out, like I'm stuck in my apartment. I can't move out anymore.
I'm affording my rent because I've been in my place for 11 years, so I'm protected under the tenancy rental cap that the government provides.
The government should do something.
But wait, hasn't the provincial government and the federal government been busy building rental housing? Yes, they have, with announcements almost weekly. But the CMHC says that supply is nowhere near to ready to keep up with demand. The provincial government, however, is more optimistic.
We are confident, though, that we will surpass targets, given that we are taking steps to unlock small-scale multi-units, unlock transit-oriented development, and I do believe that BC will continue to lead the country in housing starts.
So what to do? Well, if you're looking to buy, the CMHC says look to Metro Vancouver's suburbs. That's where new builds that are affordable and available are set to come online over the next couple of years. As for rentals, well, hang on to what you have and hope that government-led rental building projects like this one come available fast. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Vancouver.
The City of Vancouver and the Park Board say they have now finished a planned cleanup of Crab Park's designated sheltering area, and people who have been asked to move out can return. But some residents say they were told the move may have to wait one more day, and that left many frustrated.
It's just a lot less than they keep saying. And they keep building it up, and then we keep, biting, and then hook, line, sinker. So it's not what we expected.
The board says it has removed makeshift structures, over 20 propane tanks, 6 generators, and resurfaced the area with gravel. It's also created 27 sites for the 27 people it had been regularly sheltering in, or that had been sheltering regularly in the park, and given them tents. The city and park board say the cleanup was necessary because the site had become unsafe and unhygienic. A leaked memo from a hospital in BC's Northern Health region has sparked questions about the safety of healthcare staff. The memo from last year instructs nurses not to confiscate illicit drugs or weapons from patients. The opposition suggests decriminalization has led to drug use in hospital rooms. As Mira Baines reports, the Premier is trying to clarify the rules around hospitals and drugs.
A leaked memo sent out to staff at a Quesnel hospital last July asked them not to search through patients' personal belongings and take away substances. BC United MLA Eleanor Sturko highlighted the issue in the legislature.
Nurses face a daily reality of drug-fueled violence, from having drug smoke purposely blown in their faces to being kicked, punched, shoved, and even stabbed.
The Northern Health memo also tells staff not to restrict visitors if they suspect they're dropping off illicit substances, and also not to confiscate weapons if they're found. The memo came a few months after the possession of small amounts of certain drugs were decriminalized in the province under a 3-year pilot project. Premier David Eby says more security has been added to hospitals and clarified the policy.
We partnered with the Nurses Union on providing additional security in hospitals. And just to be totally clear, you're not allowed to smoke in the hospitals. You're not allowed to vape in the hospitals. You're not allowed to have weapons in the hospital.
The president of the BC Nurses Union says there are safety concerns and they should be addressed by security.
Nurses should not be required to remove weapons from patients if they do not want to surrender them. And so that is the role of security or law enforcement.
The Nurses Union says it supports harm reduction, and if hospitals are permitting drug use in certain areas, there should be more supervised consumption sites located within acute care settings. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
If you're thinking about challenging a poorly written speeding ticket, you may not have the success you're hoping for. The BC Court of Appeal weighed in this week on a commonly held myth that missing information on a ticket will mean the fee is automatically thrown out. The CBC's Leanne Young spoke with Jason Proctor about what really happened.
So this all comes down to one man's speeding ticket. Like, walk us through the case. What happened?
Well, exactly. This is this legal odyssey that kind of begins by the side of the road in Abbotsford in May 2021, when this guy, Kevin Robinson, is pulled over and handed a $121 ticket for going 97 in a 60 zone. And so he goes to provincial court with a ticket, and what the ticket says is he was fined for disobeying a traffic control device. But he points out, well, the ticket didn't say what device he disobeyed. You know, it could have been a sign, could have been a marker, could have been a line. And so actually at the provincial court level, he loses. He decides to go the next level to BC Supreme Court, where actually the judge looks and says, yeah, the legislation says you have to be given sort of reasonable understanding of what you're accused of. The ticket's, you know, a little vague in terms of this traffic obeying sign wording. Mm-hmm. And so they, quash the ticket. So then the Crown appeals and takes this. This is BC's top court, and they weighed in it this week, and they say, well, actually, you know what? You have to look at not just the wording, but kind of the entirety of what happened. And in this case, the police officer said, well, I told him you were disobeying a traffic sign that said you had to go 60 kilometers an hour. Mm. And so the appeal court says, you know, just a little mistake like that, like it's just not enough. You have to consider the entirety of it.
So I think this is really going to crush the hopes of a lot of people who are armchair lawyers who think that a minor offense can get their ticket thrown out.
Well, yeah, and that's actually somewhat what the Court of Appeal says, is also actually that the courts have the ability to amend tickets to fix kind of mistakes as long as they're not super prejudicial to the person charged before trial. But there is this idea, and I think it comes actually from the U.S. legal system, where they're really picky about the wording. But, you know, bottom line, if you get a ticket and you're sort of going to run in there and go, aha, it doesn't say exactly this, you might not be so lucky.
Dang. Okay, so just pay the ticket, or just, you know, drive safely.
Drive safe. Maybe stick to the speed limit.
Yes, exactly. All right. Thanks for that, Jason Proctor, for us.
The province says it is setting up a dedicated wildfire training and education centre at Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops. The Premier calls it a vital step for preparing firefighters in the future.
In the last 3 years, we've seen 2 of the worst forest fire seasons our province has ever seen. And the trend is clear and profoundly concerning right now. The snowpack is much lower than normal. Many parts of our province at the highest level of drought. And the fire threat is very profound.
The program is in response to recommendations from a provincial task force that's finding ways to support people during emergencies. EB says it's the first program of its kind on the continent. Classes are expected to begin next year. We're learning more details about the 11-year-old from BC who was killed in a dog attack earlier this week in Alberta. Kendra Wong tells CBC News her son, Cash, was creative, polite, and gentle. Cash, who lived here in BC and was in grade 5, was in Edmonton visiting his father, who lived with a roommate. He was inside a South Edmonton home when he was attacked by the roommate's 2 large dogs. Wong says it doesn't feel real that she won't see her son again.
We had plans to travel the world. The day he got out of grade 12, he said, "Mom, will you come with me if we buy a Winnebago and we can go travel the world?" I said, "Absolutely, buddy." I said, "You want to go? We can go tomorrow." He's like, "No, I got to finish this school year out. I like my school. I like my new friends." I was like, "All right." Yeah, he was my world. That's 100%. We did everything together.
Wong says she was told the dogs are Canet Corso breeds. Edmonton police said the dogs are in care as they continue their investigation. The month of Ramadan is coming to an end in a few days. Since it began, volunteers have been working to make sure a meal is provided for free to all those who need it when breaking their fast at sunset. As the CBC's Zara Premji shows us, the need has grown over the years as more newcomers turn to Canada as a safe haven.
The sun is soon to set, and that means the first sip of water and bite of food after several hours of fasting for many Muslims observing Ramadan across the world. Here at Al Masjid Al Jamia, the work has started well in advance, and it's going on for the entire month of Ramadan.
All right, so food is obviously key in iftar. Everyone's been fasting all day, so let's check in with the volunteers that have been preparing this food while also fasting.
Now I'm making a very special drink. This is for very special drink for only Ramzan. This drink is very famous here. You like it.
It's a famous Pakistani drink. It is, yeah.
Paija. See here, the color is changed now. We are all thirsty right now. So I'm putting here.
But facing that thirst while fasting and preparing to feed hundreds, the ultimate sacrifice.
Me, 11th month, I am the laziest person in my house. My wife complained, "You are asleep all the time."
Somebody grab this.
But for 1 month of the year, Karam says he's completely dedicated to this masjid and the hundreds coming through the doors for iftar. All of this food, all of the preparation done as an act of service.
Everyone has a hand in it. So when you eat that piece of fruit, somebody put it there. When you're drinking the chai, somebody took the time to make sure that the right balance of milk and tea and sugar.
And it has a cardamom, milk, sugar. It helps to boost your energy. After the Ramadan, you're a little bit dimmed. So after your meal, you need a little bit energized for praying. We make it almost 300 cups for everybody. Without tea, you cannot make your day.
Those 300 plus cups, along with the food you see here, feeding those who need it most.
The number used to be in the 200, 250 range was sort of the average, and it seemed like a lot of people then. But now it's amped up to a higher number due to the fact that we have a lot of newcomers, we have a lot of refugees.
We feel so good whenever we come here because we are Muslims, so we have to break our fast. And whenever we come here, they are really good. Their hospitality is also so good.
Now the fruit, the chai, and the sherbet you just saw, that's just the beginning.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, you're in for a treat today, guys. Yeah, it's a big treat today.
But first, prayer. And then the meal. And then some more prayer. Giving thanks for the ability to share in a free meal prepared by dozens of generous volunteers.
We are like a family.
Without love, there's really nothing, and there's a lot of love in this place.
Zara Premji, CBC News, Vancouver.
The animal is in a situation where we don't have a lot of time, but
A sense of urgency as rescuers try to help an orphaned orca calf stuck in a lagoon on Vancouver Island. Update is next. And hello to everyone watching our commercial-free live stream tonight. Fast food chains constantly try out new dishes to try to get new customers. Paula Duhatchuk takes us inside one test kitchen here in Vancouver, where some chefs are trying something new.
Everything that ends up on the A&W menu starts right here.
The toasted bun, we have our piri-piri aioli.
This kitchen, a battlefield in the fast food wars. Companies duking it out to come up with the next viral sensation. The next Crunchwrap Supreme, Grimace Milkshake, or Pumpkin Spice Latte.
How important is it to have these new menu items to hang on to your existing customers and to find new ones?
I would say extremely important. If you look at our journey between 1956 in Winnipeg to today, the menu doesn't look the same. We are all fighting for that same guest, and the new exciting menu items help them to come to the top of mind for, you know what, like A&W is doing that new burger, I want to go and try it.
At A&W, the latest creation is a piri-piri burger. It starts with a bun, a new spicy sauce. Instead of a beef patty, adds a hash brown. It's based on a menu hack, cooked up by South Asian Canadians.
I'm from India, and there's a big population of vegetarian folks there.
Shifting demographics are a key part of why restaurants mix up their menus in the first place. Customers are changing, so are their palates, and these days, burger chains aren't just competing with other burger chains.
It's the smaller operators and even some of the independents who are growing, and they tend to serve more globally inspired cuisine now with the economic situation. So if the brands want to grow, they're going to have to steal customers.
Next up, from a very different part of the world, this is a Moroccan hot pepper aioli.
It takes anywhere from a few weeks to several years to come up with a new menu item. The final product has to taste good and come out the same way every time.
There's just a difference between the way I can whisk up a sauce and a gigantic machine that's making literally hundreds and thousands of liters of this. It needs to work in those very, very tough kitchen environments.
Time-consuming work, but experts say there's more of it happening. Many test kitchens closed during the pandemic, and restaurants trimmed their menus to save money. But these days,
That wave of innovation is flooding back into the market right now. So it's certainly busier now than it has been in 5 years.
for its part, A&W has more than 70 new products in the works, though only a few will make their way to an actual menu. Paula Duhatchuk, CBC News, Vancouver.
Time is precious to try to rescue an orphaned orca calf stuck in a lagoon on the edge of Vancouver Island. Its mother died in that shallow water almost 2 weeks ago. As Karis Hogg reports, while the calf seems to be in relatively good health, there is a sense of urgency to rescue it.
This young orca, named Quisa Hayes, Good Hunter, has been stranded here ever since its mother died. Ihatasat and Nuchalnuth First Nations, along with the Department of Fisheries and Oceans, have been working together trying to coax the calf out of the lagoon to join its family pod, but so far they haven't been successful. The rescue team isn't giving up, vowing to find another way.
I think there's going to be 3 or 4 stages related to capturing it. Some that we already practiced with acoustics.
They say a helicopter and a sling is one option, but it's not their first choice.
We're looking at other options as well in terms of using a sling onto a vehicle and then moving the animal that way to either a landing craft or a vessel.
The Ahadisat people have deep cultural and spiritual connections to killer whales, and the nation has been receiving calls of concern and support from around the world. Many well wishes for a young whale in hopes one day it will be free. Daily monitoring seems to indicate the calf is healthy, but Paul Cottrell with the DFO says time is not on their side.
We're looking to rescue the animal and then move it from its current area closer to where its pod hopefully will pass by in a net pen.
A tense moment in a community known for its tranquility. Karis Hogg, CBC News, Vancouver.
There's a live shot of Cambie Street and City Hall in the distance. We're due for a sunny Friday, but the weekend looks a bit damp for the South Coast. Darius will have your BC-wide forecast right after this.
It's younger people who want to have that physical something. Maybe they don't even have the means to play it. Maybe there's a little bit of nostalgia going on. We sell maybe a few dozen a month. Oof, big numbers, right? But compared to what that was for several years, that's huge.
There are a couple new companies out that are selling their own variation of a portable player, and people are buying these up. One of the reasons is for that TV show Stranger Things. So it brings back that nostalgia, and they have tapes, they have Walkmans, boom boxes, and then people see that, oh, this is kind of cool, we'll go look for some of these.
A lot of smaller upcoming bands have embraced the cassette formats, which is great to see. Local acts that come through touring. They're easy to move around, right? And I imagine they'd be significantly cheaper to press than vinyl.
Hi, I'm Emily.
I'm Adam. I'm Will. I'm Cole. We are Bologna, Colorado. So I had an old Astro van that I was driving around for a couple of years, and it only had a cassette player in it. The radio didn't work, so we went to Value Village and bought a ton of cassettes. Personal favorites: Ray Charles, Jerry Lee Lewis, this sort of thing. So every time we were on our way to a gig, we'd blast those on cassette in the van. So when we were making our own music, we said, oh, we got to get cassettes because this is kind of what we're listening to and going to gigs with and stuff. Merch is definitely where most of the money's at for us at this level, anyways. So any physical copy of music selling is a win.
My business director and I, we started 3 years ago. He sent me a news article on the cassette tape resurgence. So I laughed a little bit. I checked it out. So I came back to him and I thought, okay, yeah, this is awesome. It just brought the nostalgia back, and we noticed that there was a market for this with bands releasing music on cassette tape during the pandemic, and we just dived in. The demographics go anywhere from about 17, 18 years old to 45, 50. So then you have your tape collectors that are in their late 30s, 40s. But then the younger generation, they're seeing this, and they might have seen tapes when they were growing up. But that depends on when they were born, whether it was late 80s or early 90s. And then they see them again, and they thought, oh, I didn't know that people still made these. So they see that, and that kind of attracts them to it, especially if they're in a band.
We've had a couple people that said they're super cool. We've had people that have gotten us to sign them. It's kind of one of those things that I think a lot of people like, just having something physical from the band, not so much for the music aspect, but just for the, kind of idea of a souvenir or something from the show.
The weather update is brought to you by Direct Buy Furnace. To cool and clean the air in your home, call Direct Buy Furnace. Installing Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Science and climate specialist Darius Madavi has our BC-wide weather picture now, and an update on drought and water.
Yes. Yeah. Generally speaking, yeah. Our official weather and our official snowpack update doesn't come out until early next week, April 10th. And so for now, or I guess mid next week, for now we have the automated data. And unfortunately, we have worsened once again since our last update in mid-March. You can see here, despite coming up a little bit and looking like we might improve, we are back again bordering on being the worst year on record. So 33% below normal, a full third below the amount of snow that we would usually have this time of year. And that's largely due to just a few places around the province. You can see a few of them here, some of these weather stations, which had one of the driest Marches on record. So we're talking either the second, anywhere from the second to the fourth driest March recorded in these locations. And so that really drove the snowpack that we're seeing now, or lack thereof, really. Now, is there good news on the way? Well, a little bit of snow is coming, and in many places, freezing levels will be low enough that at those higher elevations, we will be getting some snow. Temperatures in many places are lingering just below seasonal this weekend, so be ready for not cold, but slightly cooler temperatures. And if we turn to here on the south coast, where we were expecting a sunnier weekend, things have changed a little bit. We're going to have some cloud moving in on Saturday. Now you can see here that cloud moving into Vancouver. On the lower mainland, not too many showers, just maybe a few. But we're going to see those that cloud come in on Saturday and then linger into Sunday, but maybe clear out by Sunday afternoon, even though we don't see it there. Then if we turn to our temperatures, you can see they're staying low for a couple days ahead. Tomorrow we get another warm day like today, but then they drop to around 10 degrees and stick there for a couple days here in Vancouver. In terms of conditions around the province, still relatively calm tomorrow, except a bit of activity in the southeast. And if we turn to a 5-day forecast for Vancouver, you can see that we do have a bit of a cloudy weekend, but hopefully some sun Sunday afternoon. So then there's something for everybody, Dan.
No kidding. A variety pack. Thanks, Darcy. That is your late news for Thursday. Thank you for joining us tonight. For news at any time, check our website, cbc.ca/BC. Your next local news is on the early edition on CBC Radio 1. That starts tomorrow morning at 5:30 with all the latest on the Amber Alert. Good night.